Long before Middle-earth, there was the true world. Before Prince Caspian, there were 9 other princes. Eons before Excalibur, there was Amber. So you think you know fantasy? Well, here is the book that started it all. Actually, none of that is true, and can you tell that I haven't read this yet? But let's remedy that. The elusive, exclusive book society is back, and this time we'll be reading 9 Princes in Amber by Roger Zelazny. The trio of bearded book dorks will be joined by a Nordic legend, the real-life fantasy barbarian/author, Eric Wag. Join our fellowship on November 12th, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, live on Secret Fire Books channel. Welcome to Pulp Mortem, the search for a lost literary science fiction classic.
Are you crazy?
Are you blue?
Only in color, Michael. Only in color.
Hi everybody, Jake here. Let's talk about Blueface. Whoa, hey, what did I do? I didn't know. For the record, I've never done Blueface. I'm not the Prime Minister of Canada. That was Blueface, right? That one was for my Canadian friends. Sorry, eh? I'm just having fun. I don't really have a dog in the fight up there. I don't really like getting political. Like I said, I just can't help myself sometimes. Anyway, let's talk about the author. I mean, he did it like 5 times, though. G.C. Edmondson, born Jose Mario Gary Ordonez Edmondson Wycotton, was a Mexican-born American author. And actually, that's up for debate, because there are some sources that claim that he was born in Washington State. Like me! I don't know. He was born October 11th, 1922, and he died in 1995 at the age of 73. He served as a Marine during World War II and went on to have a lengthy career as a special projects engineer for the Navy. He spoke 6 languages and often worked as a translator. His first published science fiction story was in the September 1955 edition of Astounding, and he contributed to the pulps fairly regularly for a decade until he wrote his first and most popular book, The Ship That Sailed the Time Stream. Edmondson wrote a handful of science fiction novels and also some westerns under the pseudonyms Jack Logan, J.B. Masterson, and Kelly P. Gast. And while he never won any awards or was officially recognized for his work, there were many authors and critics who view Edmondson as an underrated and neglected author. Which brings us to Blueface. Truly unusual! When Nash Tabor found the alien living among the Yaki Indians, he was certain that this was a sensational discovery that would end his search for the badly needed bolster to his sagging academic reputation. Crippled in mind and body, from a wrong marriage and a severe motor accident, the anthropologist had made this last do-or-die trip to Mexico, never thinking that this discovery would mean not only an end to pain and hunger, but also immortality and power beyond his wildest imaginings. But before he can announce his discovery, he finds that his situation is very much that of the legendary man who caught a mountain lion alone with his bare hands. The only time he really felt the need of help was when he tried to turn it loose. Blueface, originally titled Chapayeca, is an original story first published in 1971 by Doubleday. I own the second printing, a DAW paperback number 17, that came out in 1972 for 95 cents. The cover is by Carol Thole, and it's pretty wild. I like it, but it's goofy. First of all, none of this happens in the book. There's no red sports car, Tony Montana doesn't run from a pyramid, and there's no ethereal floating blue guy with his hand into the traditional Hollywood Indian greeting of "Oh." Oh. I got this on a book haul a while back, and here's what I had to say about it then. Blueface by G.C. Edmondson. Look at that first. But the cover is fun. It's interesting. It's unique. I like it a lot. Blueface was recommended to me by my buddy Vilstef, and they said that this was one of their favorite short novels, and that Edmondson was an amusing and terribly underrated author. So naturally, my interest was piqued. To find this book, you will need to do a little bit of digging, because these here will be your primary search results. But after a little bit of work, I was able to find the paperback edition for around $10 and the original hardcover for $25 to $30. So let me list some of the things that I huata.
Yo, listen!
Good writing and great dialogue. Edmondson is quick and witty without crossing the line into annoying or inserting too much of himself and his own personality into the story. Seriously, he's a solid storyteller, great at description, but he excels at dialogue. Even the supporting cast had their own voices and were for the most part believable characters. Included here is some praise from James Blish. The writing is as economical as the plotting, colorful without being splashy, often wryly funny, the dialogue crisp and pointed and yet deceptively natural. If I had any complaint with this novel, it is the complimentary one of wishing it were a little less economical. It was over too soon for me. Ignacio Tavares, or Nash Tabor, is our main character. Even better than the dialogue was Edmondson's ability to create a realistic, flawed, and engaging viewpoint character. With a wild and engaging story, it would be so easy to just have a reader insert type character. I find this pretty common in science fiction. I wouldn't say it's the rule, but I've seen it quite a bit. When the setting is so remarkable, the need to make the characters remarkable sometimes falls by the wayside. But not the case here. Tabor's morality is questionable, and I often found myself wondering if he was going to do the right thing from situation to situation. The multi-layered complexity, sometimes gray motivation, and questionable decisions will stick with you long after you finish this book.
Terrific. Here's the story.
Yaki people. I should have started this review with the traditional greeting of Haisa Sewa, which can be translated, "How's the flower?" But I must confess that my knowledge of this indigenous Central American people was zilch before reading this. If you're unfamiliar with the Yaki, let me try to help. Out of all the Native American tribes, they actually might be the most badass.
They don't know who the hell they're dealing with. My granddaddy was a full-blooded Yaki Indian.
When the Spanish first encountered the Yaki in the 1500s, they were met with a line literally drawn in the sand by a Yaki chief. Well, the Spanish crossed it, and thus began centuries of conflict. After Mexico won its independence from Spain in 1821, the Mexican government sought to unify all the people within its border, but the Yaki were like, nah, we're still good. They refused to pay taxes, and this started a conflict that would last over 100 years. Wars, uprisings, and enslavement almost wiped the Yaki out. At one point, less than 10,000 Yaki remained, a majority of those young children. But despite being a relatively small people group, legend of the Yaki fighting prowess grew. They should have been wiped out 10 times over, but these tough, proud, taller than average natives refused to submit, and when knocked down, kept getting back up.
You just don't know when to give up, do you?
Inepo inayu muka.
Then in the 1930s, the Mexican government recognized the Rio Yaqui Valley in Sonora as a reservation for the Yaqui people. At last, they had some recognition of self-governance, but that isn't to say that tensions were resolved, and that line in the sand drawn 500 years ago still remains. Today there are nearly 40,000 Yaqui people, with over 20,000 residing in Arizona. Also, and this is remarkable and virtually unheard of, a majority of the Yaqui people still living today can still speak their native language. The Yaqui have a rich and vibrant culture steeped in religious traditions. Perhaps they are most well known for the traditional figures of the Fariseos or Chapayecas. During Lent, a Yaqui man may don a handmade mask to represent the evils of hypocrisy. Phariseos, Pharisee, get it? They suffer and expunge their sins with a rosary cross constantly between their teeth to prevent them from speaking and to keep sin from entering their bodies. They must wear these masks for 40 days to signify commitment and discipline. Though they are typically worn only during Lent, some will make the commitment to wear the mask for longer, even years. Then, on Black Saturday, the masks are removed and burned with flowers tossed on the flames to symbolize the sinner's re-encounter with God. The Chapayeca masks are typically made of wood, leather, or goat hair, and they're all unique. So if you're an alien stranded on Earth and wishing to blend in and remain anonymous, then this is the culture you want to find yourself in. The end is interesting and engaging, but the middle is where this book truly shines. Tabor and the alien, nicknamed Chap for Chapayeca, are on the run through the Mexican wilderness, and they're being hunted by a Yaqui assassin, the Mexican police, and the FBI. Now, I didn't need to tell you that Edmondson also wrote westerns. You would have picked that up right away. You would have quickly figured that out. It's a blast. This book is a blast. The middle section in particular and the assassin sequences were definitely a standout. And I have to mention the ending. I won't spoil it in this review, but man, does it catch you by surprise.
What a twist!
There are some decisions made that will drop your jaw a little bit. And the mystery of who Chap, this alien, is, I didn't guess it. I don't think anyone can really guess it, even though, in hindsight, it's obvious. Those are the best kind of twists. Those are the best kind of mysteries to me.
Let me just change into my good suit.
Oh, honey, your good suit is at the cleaners.
What a twist.
So that, and the change of tone that this book leaves you with, oh man, I wish I had chosen this for the Elusive Exclusive Book Society or another book club or something, because this book kind of leaves you needing to talk about it.
Let's dance!
What a twist.
Here's the story.
So I typically finish a book and then immediately jump into research and writing the script. I'd like to do this immediately while everything's still fresh in my brain. But for some reason, I couldn't do that with Blueface. I tried, but there was just so much that I still needed to think about and chew over. Now, typically I'll in the evenings I'll put my kids down for bed, and then I like to go for a walk. I walk around the city. And I went for a walk. I did that for 2 days straight after reading this. Put my kids to bed, went for a walk, had my earbuds in, but nothing was playing, and for 2 nights in a row, I was just thinking about this book, thinking about the story, piecing things together, chewing it over. I mean, man, if nothing else, this book stays with you. And now, the Kaitui. The beginning of this is a little confusing. More than a little confusing. Half of the dialogue is in Spanish and Uto-Aztecan languages. Sometimes there was enough context to ascertain what was being said, but not always. Additionally, Tabor is drugged at one point, leading to some purposeful confusion. There are some story elements that are mentioned or hinted at in the beginning that were not initially explained, and some of these elements are explained later in the book, but some aren't. And there's no way to tell or know which of these story elements are going to be explained and which of these are just assumed that you know already. Now, I've gone back and reread the first 50 pages or so, and I would say to the person reading this book, pay attention, try your best for the first 3 or 4 chapters, and then it does get easier. Prior knowledge of the Yaki is assumed. An attempt was made, I think, to bring us up to speed with the political and historical facts and dynamics, but this also just kind of came across as confusing. Honestly, the confusion makes sense because Edmondson lived this. His wife was 100% Yaki. I think it was difficult for him to place himself in my shoes, somebody who knows very little about Central and Native American tribes and their dynamics and relations between the Spanish and the Mexican government. I say prior knowledge is assumed, but unfortunately, it's also required. The motivations of every single character, aside from Tabor and Chappie was that horrible movie. The character motivations of every single character, except for those 2, will not make sense unless you have this prior cultural and historical knowledge. This conundrum really reminded me of the saga of Lost Earths. Could have been amazing, except you needed to be familiar with the Kaleva Law to understand or truly enjoy it. Fortunately, I'm here to help. I'll include a link below of a quick 3-minute video of the history of the Yaki, along with a link to a wiki article that should only take you a couple minutes to read. These 2 things won't make you an expert, but I think they will give you enough context and knowledge to understand everything happening in this book. It just kind of sucks that you need to do some homework before you can read this. And listen to me, don't brush past this, okay? The ending will not make sense if you are not at least somewhat familiar with Yaki history. I agree with Jimmy Blish. This story was too short. Now, that isn't to say it isn't wrapped up in a satisfying way, because it is, but I would have loved to see that middle section added to or elongated just a bit. Man, that section was so good. And at just 128 pages, we could add another 40 pages without dragging the story down. Listen, this is in the bad section, but it's not a bad thing to say I wanted more of your book.
Please, sir, I want some more.
What?
Please, sir, I want some more.
More?
Come on, let's get Yume. I guarantee that I am butchering every single one of these Yaki phrases. Sorry. Tabor said an unscientific word and went out to gather firewood. See, this is an example of Edmondson's wit at play here, and it makes reading this fun. Nothing silly, nothing I can really make fun of. It's just a fun read. Actually, I take that back. There is something silly. The alien ship design was silly. All right. Picture an alien spaceship, okay? Picture an alien spaceship. I guarantee you that no one on planet Earth or in the universe is picturing what G.C. Edmondson describes here as a alien spaceship. Got a picture in your mind? Okay. If you guessed invisible monkey bars, you win.
Excellent!
Tabor knew that he would never understand the principles behind the ship's drive any more than the average woman knows what makes her car run. Hey, that's sexist. Isn't it? Like, come on, that isn't even true. Jose Mario Gary Ordonez. Like, no way, Jose. That isn't true, right? Right? So what's the verdict? I'm not going to lie, I'm struggling with this one a bit, but I'm going to say personal collection. Strong personal collection. I missed out on museum rank by just a hair. This is the 38th book that I've reviewed on my channel this year, and out of all those 38, there are just a handful that I still think about. Seahorse in the Sky, Dinosaur Beach, and The Furies, which should have been museum ranked, but I mean, I goofed up on that one. But Blueface fits right in with those books. In fact, the only thing keeping this from the top rank is the fact that you need to do some homework before you can fully enjoy it as intended. But make no mistake, you should do that homework. You should buy this book, you should read it, and you should add it to your collection. You better believe I'm on the lookout for an original hardcover. And that is my review of Blueface. Thanks, Phil Steph. This was a good pick. Hey, have you guys read this before? Or is there another G.C. Edmondson that maybe we should read as well? Let us know in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time with Dimension of Miracles.
And I have to ask for an audition.
Do you have an audition yet?
Oh, no, I'm not in the group yet. No, I'm afraid I just blew myself.
There's got to be a better way to say that.